All right, welcome to lesson 2.8, the last lesson of chapter 2, which is all about graphing linear inequalities and absolute value inequalities. I think it's very important to realize that when you're graphing inequalities, there are a number of solutions that go into inequalities. So there's a number of ordered pairs, a number of x and y values that will go ahead and satisfy the inequalities to make them true. Okay, so when we go ahead, when we're talking about inequalities, what you're actually going to do is you're going to take a look at ordered pairs, and you're going to find out whether or not they make it true. So in this one, you got your x value, and you got your y value. You're going to substitute them in. So you're going to have 5 minus 4, and you're going to hope that that is less than 4. You get 1 is less than 4. This right here is true, so we know that, yes, this one right here, that is an actual solution to that inequality. Okay? Now this one, you got your x, and you got your y, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take negative 1, we're going to say minus negative 4, and we're going to hope that that is less than 4. Okay? So you got negative 1 plus 3, or excuse me, negative 1 plus 4, which is going to give you 3, is less than 4. So we know that this one right here, that one is also a solution to the inequality. Okay? Let's go ahead and let's try this one down here. I'm going to go ahead and in purple again, I'm going to substitute 0 in. So I have 2 times 0 plus 3 times negative 1. And I'm going to hope that that's less than or equal to negative 3. You're going to get 0, and you're going to get negative 3 is less than or equal to negative 3. Yes, this right here is going to be a solution. All right, in red, 2 times negative 3, all right, plus 3 times 2, okay, less than or equal to negative 3. So you're going to get negative 6 plus 6, so you're going to get 0 is less than or equal to negative 3. Now this one right here, this is not true, okay? So you know now that this is not a solution to this inequality over here, okay? So that's what we're looking at, is we're looking for the actual ordered pairs that would go ahead and make inequalities true, and we can represent that through graphing. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at some of our graphing examples down here. Okay, and I think it's very important when you're graphing to relate it to the linear equations that we graphed. For example, this one says x is greater than 2. Now we know how to graph this. X is equal to 2, right? We'd go ahead and we'd find the number 2, right? And we know that this one right here would make a vertical line, right? We're going to do the same thing, but it's very important to know that this inequality sign right here is going to go ahead and tell us how to graph our line. Okay, so if we come back up here to our rules, that was a greater than or less than sign. So you see what we have here is we're going to make a dashed line, and then we'll figure out which way we have to shade. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead at this point, I'm going to make a dashed line, and I'll tell you why in a second. So you got a dashed line, okay? It says greater than 2. So let's go ahead and let's choose an ordered pair over here. Let's choose an ordered pair over here. All right, so this ordered pair is at 4, comma 2, and this ordered pair is at negative 2, comma negative 2. If you took and put negative 2 right here, is negative 2 greater than 2? No. If you took and you put 4 right here, you know that 4 is greater than 2. So what we do is we know that all of my ordered pairs that are this direction of my line are going to have an x value that's bigger than 2. If I choose a point right here, that point is at 2, comma negative 1. If I substituted 2 in here, that would not be true, so that's why it's a dashed line. Okay? X is less than or equal to negative 1. If we go back up to my rules right here, anytime we have a greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, we have a solid line. Okay? So, solid line at negative 1. And then what happens is we're looking for all the values that are less than negative 1. So I'm going to take and I'm going to shade everything that is that way of my line. I'm going to shade all of this over here, because those are what's going to make it true. All right, let's go to the next page and take a look at some y ones. This one, y is greater than negative 2. to graph this, y equals negative 2, we would know we would draw a horizontal, I spelled that wrong, horizontal line at y is equal to negative 2. So same thing. This sign right here tells us we're going to have a solid line. So I'm going to go to negative 2. I'm going to draw in a solid line. And we're looking for all values that are greater than negative 2. So I'm going to take and I'm going to shade all of this above the line up here. Okay? We're not just going to have x and y inequalities, right? What we're going to have is we're also going to have inequalities where we have x and y in the same inequality. Okay? This should look familiar when we have y is equal to x plus b. All right? In this one, my b value is equal to negative 1. My m value is equal to 2 over 1. So if we were to go ahead and graph this one, we would go down to negative 1. Then we go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, or we go down 2 to the left 1. We're going to make a dashed line because of my sign. And this one says that we're going to go ahead and we're going to shade less than. So we got to think about, is it these points over here? Is it this ordered pair of negative 2 comma 2? Or is it the ordered pairs over here of 4 comma negative 2? What happens is, if we need to shade less than, we're going to shade below the line, which is all of this down here. Okay? And if you wanted to check, you would just take and substitute this stuff in. So you would have negative 2 is less than, and if you did 4 times that, you'd get 8 minus 1. You'd have negative 2 is less than 7. So you know that this one over here makes it true. So it's going to be all of this stuff over here. Okay? Now, to graph these things, let's go to the Smart View. Let's go to y equals, and let's go ahead and let's clear the absolute value stuff that we did yesterday. Okay? Now, to do inequalities, you're just going to go ahead and you're going to type it in just like you would an equation. So, the first one was 2x minus 1. So I'm going to type in 2x minus 1. However, it's not an equation, it's an inequality. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to apps, all right? And under this applications area, you should, if you go to alpha and go to I, you should have something that says inequalities. You're going to go ahead and you're going to hit enter, and you're going to turn it on. All right? So now you have all the options of putting an inequality sign right there. Okay? That one said that we wanted to do less than. So I'm going to go to alpha, and I'm going to choose F2 right here to put the less than sign in there. All right? And you'll notice what happened over here is it showed a dotted line, and then it showed a shading below. Okay? Another way we could do that is if we don't have the if we don't have the inequalities, all right, let's go back to apps. Let's go back to alpha I. I'm going to hit inequalities again. I'm going to quit it. I'm going to hit enter. What you can do under your y equals is you can scroll over all the way to the left until this thing is flashing. And then if you hit enter, you'll notice that it's going to change. We got the triangle up here. This triangle means greater than. You notice it changed the shading. If I go ahead and hit enter again, now we're at less than, and it changed the shading. So that's the way you can do it manually. The only bad part about that is it gives you a solid line every time. So you'd have to determine based on your sign whether it's dashed or solid. Okay? All right. These ones right here, you'll notice that they're in standard form. What you can do for those is you can just go ahead and you can solve. You can subtract 3x and subtract 3x. So you would solve for y. So you have y is greater than negative 3x minus 3. And then you'd go ahead and you'd plot your y-intercept at negative 3. You'd do your slope at negative 3 over 1. So you'd have negative 3. And then you can't go down 3. So I'd go up 3. And I'd go to the left 3. Up 3 to the left 3. And I would make a dashed line because it's a greater than sign. And now I'm going to have to shade greater than. So I'm going to have to shade above. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shade all of this stuff over here that is above the line. Okay? Remember, when you're dividing by a negative, what do you do to the inequality? All right, you're always going to go ahead and you're going to change the inequality sign, like this one right here. If you subtract x and subtract x, you end up with negative 3y is greater than negative x minus 3. But when you divide by negative 3 and divide by negative 3 and divide by negative 3, you're going to end up with y is equal to, you're going to switch this sign to less than 1/3 x plus 1. Okay, so don't forget to go ahead and change that sign. Okay? All right, these ones. All right, what we're looking at for these ones, we're looking at absolute value inequalities. No different. Okay? If it's greater than, you're going to shade above. If it's less than, you're going to shade below. Okay? So, you want to go ahead and you want to graph this one. So your vertex is at 0, comma, negative 3. And your a value is equal to a positive 4. So you're going to go down to 0, negative 3. And then you're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. Up 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. And you're going to draw in your absolute value function inequality. Greater than. All right. Oh, I forgot one thing, didn't I? Look at the sign. It's just greater than. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to have to make it a dashed line, right? My bad, guys. All right, so greater than. So let's go ahead and let's see what we do. Let's choose a point right here. Let's choose a point out here. So the point I chose in there was 0, comma 2, and then I chose 2, comma 0. If you took and you put 2 there, you're going to say 2 is greater than absolute value of 0, 0 times 4. So you're going to end up with 0 there. Okay. So you end up with 0, and then you're going to have minus 3. 2 is greater than negative 3. It appears that these inequalities, these ordered pairs inside, work. This one does not. Okay? Same thing for this one. Where's your vertex? Your vertex is at negative 1, comma 2. Go find that point, negative 1, comma 2. And then your a value there is equal to 1, because there's no number in front of here. So you're going to go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. And your sign tells you that it's going to be a solid line, and it is greater than. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shade everything that is on the inside. Okay, let's take a look at this last one here. Vertex is at 2, comma 4. So I'm going to go over 2, up 4, which is right here. We have a less than or equal to sign, and we have an a value that is a negative 1/2. So we know that this graph is going to face and open down. Down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2. Based on the sign, we have a solid line, and we have a solid line this way, and it looks like it's going to be less than, so I'm going to shade all of this right here. Okay, if you want to graph it online, excuse me, on your calculator, you're going to go to clear all that. So let's go clear this. Hold on, I got to hit arrow over. I'm going to clear that. Okay, I'm going to go to apps. I'm going to go to alpha I. I'm going to hit the inequalities thing again. I'm going to go ahead and hit. All right, I want to take and I want to graph this last one that we did, negative 1/2 x minus 2 plus 4. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in, oh, I need to go back here. What sign was it? Less than or equal to. So I'm going to go to alpha, less than or equal to. All right, scroll over. Nope, it was negative 1/2. Negative 1 divided by 2. All right, got to go to get absolute value. So math, number, absolute value. And I had x I had x, what was it, minus 2 or plus 2? Minus 2. All right, minus 2, close the absolute value, and then I had plus 4. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit graph. And that's what it should look like. Okay, so if I go back to my workbook and go ahead and compare the two. All right, I'm going to go ahead and compare the two. Looks good to me. It's exactly what we graphed. Okay, so that is graphing inequalities, linear inequalities, and absolute value inequalities.